So, I've been waiting to make this video for a little while, and by a little while I mean like a week, 2 weeks or so, since basically I first found out the news of this whole video. This reaction video is actually going to be a little bit more chilled, less cuts, just more laid back and organic, as today I'm going to be reacting to the YouTuber who I've been actually watching for a good couple of years now, called Tharies, who basically got the dream Doctor Who fans reality. He got a role in Doctor Who. So today we're going to actually go ahead and have a look at this and react to this, and yeah, do a whole reaction video to this right here. I've got my mic. We're in a slightly different setup to what we usually are in, so that sort of explains this setup for this reaction video. Usually we're in the other setup, but I just decided to quickly throw together this one and film this video. So without further ado, let's get into this video right now. Roll the intro. Okay, so we're going to get into this video right now. I'm probably going to not really cut back and forth too much in this video. We're just going to hit play and react to it and see what's going on. So the video is called I am Doctor Who. Tharies is not the 16th Doctor, although that was kind of heavily rumoured. I say heavily rumoured, it was rumoured by me. I kind of put a couple of them rumours out there, along with a couple of other Doctor Who YouTubers and fans and things like that. So yeah, let's get into this reaction video right here. And yeah, just before I get into it right now, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications for more content, and make sure to hit that subscribe button on Tharies' channel as well, because yeah, just hit that subscribe button. He's a fellow Doctor Who YouTuber. I'm a Doctor Who YouTuber, so yeah, well, you could say I'm a Doctor Who YouTuber. Technically, my first video was a Doctor Who video, so technically that kind of makes me a Doctor Who YouTuber, even though I have kind of branched out into a lot of other things, like reaction videos. So yeah, make of that what you will. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, and let's get into this reaction video right now.
I have been waiting to record this video for over a year.
Yeah, I can imagine.
At the time that you're watching this, episode 7 of Doctor Who Season 2 Wish World will have just aired. However, for me, it won't be the first time I've seen a bit of the episode, because I am in Doctor Who. In this scene, I make an incredibly brief cameo appearance, and I wanted to tell you guys how this happened and what.
Funny enough, I didn't fully spot this at first because he is kind of in the background, so like he isn't like front and center in the foreground of the screen, so I didn't really notice it at first, and then the news hit and I had to go back and rewatch just for that. So yeah, very, very cool.
The experience was like, and even though this happened over a year ago for me, it's still such a mind-blowing thing to have happen, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about it basically, and thank some of the people who made it happen, and answer some of what I can only imagine are some of your inevitable questions. So sit back.
Yeah, to be fair, I have a few questions, just thinking about like how it was to be on set of such a huge TV show. Because Doctor Who, ultimately, is, yeah, arguably, I'd say it's the biggest show to come out of the UK. Probably by a mile, if you include the massive impact it's had on this country. It's pretty insane.
Back, relax, and subscribe if you're new. That would be greatly appreciated. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. Any support would be greatly appreciated in helping us get to that goal. But let's dive right in.
Yeah, 30,000 subscribers would be much appreciated on this channel as well. Yeah. Subscribe. Okay, I just had an advert.
So, before we get into it, I kind of need to give you some context. We need to take a trip back in time to the
You can tell he's put some special effort into this video. Like, he's had, like, the titles all happening as well. That's actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I do rate that. That's definitely what I'd do if I ever got into Doctor Who, which is probably as likely as the Paradigm Daleks returning to Doctor Who, which is basically 0%. So, yeah.
23rd of November 2023, when I managed to make it to a Starbeast screening hosted by the Royal Travel.
Yeah, Tharies actually was at the Starbeast screening, which is actually pretty cool. And it's nice to know that this wasn't, like, pre-planned. I like the idea of this being, like, as I said, I have watched this video before, but I'm rewatching it for you guys. But yeah, pretty much, like, it is nice to see that this happened after the screening, if that makes sense.
Society Wales, which was basically a lucky dip, was first come first serve. You know, it wasn't a thing I was invited to, it was a thing I was scouring the socials in order to grab one of the tickets, and I did, alongside my mum. So we went to go see the Starbeast 2 days early, and as you know, as long-time viewers of this channel will know, I met Russell T Davies that night. They had like a post-drinks reception after the episode, and I met
another, yeah, very cool thing that I did actually know, because I remember seeing the picture very, very well. So yeah. Also, I think he made a video on it as well, which I wouldn't be surprised about.
Russell T Davies that night, and he said to me.
Then again, this was November 2023, and we are in 2025 right now, June 2025. So it was a while ago. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, Tharies, I remember hearing you talking a video.
Bro has gone over the top. He's gone to the extra extent of cutting out Russell T Davies' face and then tracking it to his own face. Legendary.
About how you weren't sure as a kid whether you'd be able to get on the TARDIS or not because there wasn't a ramp, so stay tuned till the giggle. And I was like, what? And that's the story that I've told you guys for the best part of a year. However, that wasn't the only thing he said. He also said, we've got to get you in it somehow, we've just got to get you in it, so I'll put you in touch with some people and we'll make it happen. And I'm like, what? The night ends, I go home, and the 60th airs, and months go by, and I don't hear much, so I think, you know, maybe it's not going to happen. You know, obviously, Season 1's approaching, Season 2 filming is slowly beginning to wrap up, and then I start getting emails.
So yeah, he starts getting emails at this point. So yeah, that's when you know something's happening.
In March. First of all, from the BBC to make sure I wouldn't leak anything, and then from Chris May, one of the producers on Doctor Who, you've probably seen on Unleashed, until finally I got an email with a woman named Pepper, who is basically in charge of crowds on Doctor Who, is one of the people in charge of crowds on Doctor Who. I think you've probably also seen her on Unleashed, and they basically arranged for me to come in on the 23rd of April, and so I did. They also said to prepare some clothes for the scene. The explicit brief I was given was that I would be kind of, you know, living it rough, kind of almost sort of homeless.
I like how he has also taken behind the scenes photos as well, because this almost gives us a little bit of insight into
kind
how
of
the
thing,
show works.
very kind of downtrodden. So, and here's a couple of my kind of attempts at that costume. Most of it got changed on the day anyway, but here's some early attempts for you. But before I even got to the set, a brief kind of worry hit my brain, because I believe on the day I was there, 2 scenes being filmed for the same episode. An interior shot, as in like a, you know, an in-studio sort of scene, and then one filmed on location. And I was really worried about doing an on-location shoot. Specifically, I think it was the same shoot for this image from the Black Archive Gallery, because I knew that the filming people, who obviously go and visit and take pictures of filming, know like what I look like. I talk to them all the time. We see each other sometimes when I go visit filming, so I knew that if they saw me, the jig would be up. The leaker would have been leaked. Luckily,
Yeah,
I ended
that
up
is
with the
definitely
studio day of filming. I was only there for about a day, and so we head over on the 23rd of April. Something incredibly ironic too about that, and the reason why I remember so vividly about it being the 23rd is on the 24th of April, it was announced that Tom Rhys-Harries would be joining the show, who would go on to play Ricky September in Dot and Bubble. And the reason why that's funny is because my real name is Thomas Harris, so you can imagine the day after I'd been to filming.
That is actually pretty crazy. I wonder if that was just like a coincidence, or that like that announcement was thrown out there almost as a little thing, just to almost like tease the waters, because I know how like Russell T Davies is, so could be, although I don't know, it could be a coincidence.
Seeing the headline Thomas Harris joins Doctor Who, I'm like, do they know? Someone leaked it? And luckily they hadn't. It was just someone with almost the exact same name, which is quite funny, but I digress. So we head over to Bad Wolf Studios. Now, we've never actually been to Bad Wolf Studios before. I went with my mum. It was kind of like picking, who Charlie wanted to take to the chocolate factory. I ended up taking my mum. However, since we've never been before, we had to put it in the sat-nav. And we ended up at what I can only describe as a soft play area for children. And I was like...
Yep, definitely the wrong place there. Yeah, that just shows the effectiveness of sat-navs. Yeah.
Unless Doctor Who has changed pretty drastically in the last couple of months, I don't think this is the right place, but yeah. And luckily, we did find the right place a few minutes after we went to the entrance, and you've probably seen the entrance.
Yeah, it's definitely the right place, because you can see the Dalek in the background, so you know you're in the right place when there's a Dalek there.
On Doctor Who Legion and Instagram and things, there's a giant Dalek outside. There was like a cardboard cutout of a Wrath Warrior. We basically sit in reception and wait until Pepper, who is the crowd manager that I had mentioned earlier, greets us, and before...
Worship the rap. The Kentucky Original Rap for $2.49. Get the deal. Believe in chicken.
I know what's going on. I'm whisked into hair and makeup. So they basically rough up my hair and they dirty my nails to really kind of make it look like I am in this kind of downtrodden state, and it was really bizarre having hair and makeup done on an actual TV show, and on Doctor Who no less. And then I'm wished to costume, where they kind of change some bits around, and they give me like a dark leather jacket and a beanie, which is ironic because they just spent ages doing my hair and then they put a beanie on top of it anyway. It doesn't matter because this is the final look. I'll admit, I don't...
To be fair, I didn't know that they put like that much effort into like essentially extras looks, because like obviously I get putting a shit ton of effort into your main cast and the people who are going to be on the camera for a lot of screen time, or more than a few seconds really, but Tharos was playing an extra essentially, and it's really interesting to see how much work and effort goes into even just making sure that an extra who is essentially on screen for not massively long looks perfect for the role. So that's actually quite interesting. I find that quite interesting about the process.
I think it's my best look ever. However, I think it works very well for the scene, because obviously, as you guys will know at this point, the context of this scene is that Conrad rules a kind of dystopian alternate society where, among other things, disabled people are kind of forgotten. Now, you might be wondering, how much did I know about Season 2 and about the finale going into this, and, have all my theory videos been me just deliberately lying when I knew more details? And I can honestly say no. I deliberately said, don't tell me any more than I need to know. Obviously, in the scene that I'm in, there's talk about Conrad basically being god of Earth, and...
Yeah, I feel like they would tell you some stuff, but there's like obviously certain things, like for example, spoilers, everyone knows at this point, but the 13th Doctor coming back and Billie Piper becoming the new Doctor, or at least being the end of the regeneration of Ncuti Gatwa, and Ncuti Gatwa leaving in the next episode. So obviously there is some stuff that would not be told to even quite a lot of the main cast who really don't need to know it. Never mind extras and other people like that. But yeah, I feel like they would have given you enough of an outline to know what you're doing in the episode, because again, if they tell you too little, you probably can't act to your best ability, and that goes for any role really in the show.
And so I kind of knew this comrade guy ain't a good bloke, and that he is probably going to control the Earth in this finale. But frankly, those details were also leaked via filming around the same time, so it wasn't exactly like I knew a ton more than a bunch of other people. Anyway, after that, go and do breakfast, and I have to say, Bad Studios does a pretty good breakfast. This isn't, Dr. Unleashed, so I'm not going to do a whole 20-minute tangent about the breakfast.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you reference the Doctor Who Unleashed segment on a breakfast, which is quite funny, I'm not gonna lie.
Breakfast, but it is pretty good. And then we head to the set, and obviously there's multiple studios in Babel Studios, and there's multiple stages where they're doing multiple scenes at the same time. And one thing that I just wasn't prepared for is just how huge Bad Wolf Studios is. It's ginormous. It looks big on Unleashed, but it truly is massive. And I know that there's massive studio spaces. And I was only in one of them, and there was about 6 studio stages, I think. So I knew for a fact that when people were saying, "Oh, Doctor Who's been cancelled, they're renting out studio space," I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. That place is huge. We head to my scene, and funny enough, I catch a glimpse of something in the opposite studio to mine, which is kind of what I described at the time as this weird honeycomb-looking kind of building, this kind of structure. Now, I believe that is the interior of the Bone Beasts in episode 7 and 8, but of course, at the time, I didn't know that. It just looked like a weird honeycomb-looking thing. We head into my studio, well, not my studio, but the one that I'm going to be in, alongside all...
Yeah, Tharius just owns a studio at Bad Wolf Studios. Tharius is the new showrunner of Doctor Who. That would be a funny sign of events.
All the other extras and characters. There's a giant tent in the middle of this huge black room, and we all huddle into this tent. And I gotta say, the set design for this scene is absolutely wonderful. It's really good. It's you get so many little details just in the background that you can really appreciate when you're actually there. For example, obviously there was a screen with Comrade on it, kind of.
Yeah, the sets on Doctor Who, they've always had quite a bit of detail in them, from what I remember, but especially with this new Disney Plus budget,
proclaiming himself as leader. There's all this kind of graffiti on the walls and stuff. It feels like a really lived-in environment. And of course, my scene contains Minnie Gibson and Ruth Manley, and both were absolutely lovely. Ruth Manley in particular, she came and had a 10-minute conversation with all those extras in between takes, mainly about the food, because we were all talking about the evening meal, which was fish. Again, I don't want to keep bringing up the food, but just in case you were curious. But she was absolutely lovely. And she was like, "Oh, they finally got you on it then," and I was like, yeah, they did. And so, yeah, the scene itself, you guys have probably seen. It's basically Ruby meeting up with kind of the dispossessed in the episode, as they're called. Ruth Manley is basically saying, we kind of sit here and we fight and stuff, and the reason why our reality and our kind of part of the world doesn't make any sense is because Conrad doesn't think about us, which I have to say clicked with me after watching Lucky Day, because he says about, oh, she's on benefits and stuff. So all the little details that I'd seen a year prior started to click together the more I watched this year's series, which was a very rewarding experience, and it's why I held on doing this video as long as I did. But something I have to point out is just how lovely everyone on the crew is. They're absolutely wonderful. Shout out to the continuity manager, who made sure that my hat, my beanie, wasn't constantly askew, because for some reason my head just doesn't like hats. And yeah, there's obviously also a scene where a cup goes through the table, which is what the tables don't do that line is all about, I assume. Obviously, I still haven't seen the episode, so I don't know how it fully comes together. What was really funny about that is, obviously, I imagine in the episode it looks quite impressive, but watching it happen in real time, you essentially just have a table that then gets moved out of shot, and then a cup that's placed on the floor, and then, you know, someone off stage kind of shouts smash, as in, you know, it's just been smashed. And mainly all I had to do was sit there and occasionally, you know, laugh when I was told to laugh, or act indignant at the sound of Conrad and him being discussed. It was great. I basically just got to sit there and watch a Doctor Who scene for free. It was
That's pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. That is a pretty cool flex, I'm not gonna lie.
great, you know, like, it's my dream job. Admittedly, it was funny because there's one line that, like, Millie Gibson was kind of like having to say over and over again because it was such like a hard one. She was like, "How did Conrad become god of the earth?" It's like she was like getting really like tongue tied on it, which was quite funny. But yeah, she was a class act. A very, very good actress. Also, I want to shout out Alex Pillai, the director, who said, "Oh, you're the fan who's on it," and I'm like, yeah. That was another funny thing too. Like, a lot of the extras, obviously, for them, it was just, you know, that's their job. They just work as extras. For me, I was like, oh yeah, I'd kind of sort of been invited to be on it, and they were like, what do you mean? And then I kind of had to, like, explain this whole situation that I'm explaining to you now. And I have to say, hearing the stories of the other extras was really lovely as well. Obviously, they're all, you know, disabled actors working in the...
That's cool. Like, it's good that they managed to get time to actually, like, talk together and exchange different stories and stuff. I think that's pretty cool that, you know, there was time on shooting to do that. Yeah, it's very, very
industry
cool.
And stuff, and they were all so nice as well. And there was this one particular woman whose name I forget, but she was the lead in, I believe, an S4C production, and I remember this story and I wanted to tell it because it's really stuck with me. She was the lead of an S4C production that won an award. I think it won like not a BAFTA but something similar to it, and the crew didn't pay for accommodations for her to go and accept the award. And it really just got me thinking about, you know, how difficult it is to be a, you know, disabled actor in this, like, industry and stuff, and it made me really appreciate the scene I'm in even more.
Yeah, I can imagine that they didn't do so. Almost, I'm guessing the company just sort of wanted to get around having to organise all this extra stuff for having a disabled person there, which is a bit shitty, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think as a company, if you're going to cast a disabled character and just, you know, cast an actual disabled person, you should go and make the extra effort to, you know, at least make sure that they come to the awards ceremony, like, or the awards show or whatever it is, you know, at least make the extra effort. Like, you casted that person at the end of the day, so it should be kind of a given, but it is kind of sad to see that it isn't as well. So, yeah, kind
because
of insightful.
Obviously, in the context of the scene, it's about, you know, disabled people being forgotten and stuff, which happens very much in real life. And I felt that it was especially lovely and a full circle moment for me to be in a scene about that when I was the one to kind of suggest the ramp. It was a very deliberate choice, I imagine, by Russell. I remember there being rumours for ages that I was in Lux, and obviously I said very specifically, guys, I'm not in Lux, which I didn't lie, I wasn't. But to be honest, I'm glad I was in this one, because I think it has like a sort of special kind of, it feels full circle almost to be the one to suggest that, and then to be in that scene, you know, it kind of just feels like a nice sort of full circle moment. So I'm basically on set most of the day. Obviously I swap in and out depending on different shots, because obviously some people aren't in different shots depending on who's the focus of the camera at the time. But yeah, I'm basically on set most of the day. It was about 6 to 8 hours all told. I had a great time. I didn't want to leave. But obviously at the very end, you know, all the extras are being headed out. We take a picture, which I hope that they publish, of all the dispossessed, Ruth, and I believe Millie was there too, all of us together kind of at the end. Hopefully that'll get published, because I really want to have a copy of that picture. And so the day is wrapping up, you know, we're all ushered away, and then
hopefully he managed to get that picture, because that would be cool to see. Definitely yeah, if he gets that picture, definitely post it. That would be definitely cool to see.
Chris May, who was the producer I mentioned earlier, catches me and he goes, "Psst, psst, you want to see the TARDIS?" And I go, "Yeah." And so I do. And so this is that picture. And you'd also see a picture of, like, the door and stuff as well. And I remember, before we even got to the set, having to go through so many different corridors, including one that I can only describe as, like, you know when you're in the back of, like, an IKEA, and, like, there's just walls of furniture and things going on forever. That's basically what it looked like. Babel Studios is absolutely huge, especially because it was all in low light as well. So, like, I imagine it's even bigger when all the lights are turned on. It looks even bigger when all the lights are turned on. But anyway,
I could imagine they turned all them lights off just to save the energy, because I could imagine that place costs an absolute bomb to power and heat. So, yeah, I can imagine they want to cut some energy from that.
It felt like it went on forever, but eventually we reached the TARDIS console, you know, where they display the TARDIS console room and, you know, where they film it, essentially. And, you know, I turned the corner and I was like, "Oh my god, there's the door." And he lets out a smile, and then I see it. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to go on it at the time because they were doing some maintenance work to the TARDIS, I believe. I did manage to snap a sneaky couple of pictures. I also want to shout out the brother of one of the other extras, was also a Doctor Who fan who I think liked my videos as well. There was a couple of people who worked at Bad Wolf who watched my videos, and I was told that throughout the day, which was slightly, like, mad as an experience. Like, "Oh, I'm a big fan." I'm like, "You work on the thing I'm a fan of. You know, you're way beyond me." But anyway, yeah, he wanted to see the TARDIS.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to see that people were acknowledging that they liked his videos and stuff like that, because he's getting to this point now where he's definitely going to bump into people who enjoy his content, which it's really, really nice and wholesome to see that, again, people on the show are watching this kind of stuff and watching stuff about the show, which is ultimately really cool.
So he went with us, and yeah, that was quite the experience. It's huge in real life. It's absolutely huge, and it was just the perfect capper to what was a wonderful day. And I don't think I'll ever forget that experience. And I want to give a special shout out to Pepper, who was the crowd manager, Chris, who, as I said, was the producer, Alex, who was the person at the BBC, obviously Russell as well for, you know, trying to, like, make sure that this happens and taking in my videos and taking in the ramp stuff. Like, it's honestly, like, was such a nice thing to have happen. The one thing that I kind of got from it is just how, like, much work goes into these productions. I think it's why my approach to criticism has kind of evolved, because whilst I'm very happy to be critical, I'm also very conscious of, like, how much people work on these things, and, like, obviously, you know, how much effort goes into things that you never even see. And it just really was kind of like a wonderful experience to kind of see all of it in action in a way. And I just want to thank everyone who helped me. You know, the costume people were absolutely lovely.
Yeah, just the amount of work that goes into these productions is absolutely insane.
Helped me get in and out of costume, you know, the makeup people, like I said, the continuity person who made sure my hat wasn't astray. Like, you were all so fantastic, and it made for an absolutely lovely experience, and I cannot thank you enough for it. And I want to thank as well all of you, because none of this, what I've talked about today, would have been possible without you guys. Like, this was a dream come true for me, and it feels like a very full circle moment for me as a person and for the channel as well. That doesn't mean obviously that videos will stop after this, far from it. I've got a lot more to say, I always will, but it does just feel like a moment that is kind of the culmination of everything that's happened on here. But none of that would have been possible without you guys watching and subscribing and liking, and I'll never forget that. And I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for everything.
That is pretty cool. I guess this is pretty much the end of the video anyway, or the main part of the video. But yeah, this was a pretty cool video to react to, and something that I did want to react to when it came out, but there's a couple of little delays with a couple of different things, so I've had to reschedule this reaction video and record it a separate time on this setup. But yeah, that's basically the end of this video, so thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe to Tharius as well. And yeah, that's basically the end of the video, so thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe as always, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace. Doctor Who.